Hi guys, I'm Prateek Singh, the CEO and founder of Learnapp, a video education platform, and I've personally seen Zerodha grow over the last 10 years, and I know a lot of first-time account holders at Zerodha and even Learnapp users want to know about Zerodha's journey, what they do, how they do stuff. So Nithin and I thought we'll create this series of videos explaining what Zerodha is. So I have Nithin over here. Hi Nithin.
Hey, thanks, Prateek. Thanks for agreeing to do this. I can't think of a better person in this country who understands finance, can teach well, can produce well, and all of that. So thanks for agreeing to do this.
No, this is cool. I'm gonna ask you questions that hopefully no one else has asked you before. So this should be interesting. So Nithin, let's start with this, right? So for all those who are new to Zerodha, tell us about the story and how did Zerodha come to be?
Right. No, I mean, I'll keep it short. See, the thing is, I used to trade the markets from, I think, late 90s, like 97, 98. Nikhil, my younger brother, joined me in trading around 2006, 2005, around that time. So around 2009, 10, I had traded for like 10, 12 years very actively.
Yeah.
And I wanted to take a break from trading for a bit. Right. And I had done nothing else other than trading in my life. So there was no other, break other than saying, can we really build a brokerage firm that we didn't have as traders? Right. I mean, so what was that brokerage firm? When we started the business, it was essentially a firm which will not charge this heavy brokerage that traders had to pay back in 2000s, right? As in, I still remember at one point I was paying 100 rupees per lot.
Yeah.
Right. So if you bought 10 lots of options and sold, you're losing 2,000 rupees. As in, and in an online world where you have online trader who's risking his own trading capital, it made no sense to pay that kind of brokerage. So that was the idea. When we started the business, we said, is there a way in 2010 when the world is going online to be an online only broker who caters to online only traders, but is able to do it at a much lower cost, right? And so we were the first ones to introduce the concept of a flat fee per trade model in the country, right? So, I mean, the logic behind that was, if the effort involved in executing the trade is the same,
Yeah.
Why should you charge more, right? And this is nothing unique. The discount brokers, as they were called in the US, they started in the 90s.
Correct.
Right? E-Trade, Charles Schwab.
Charles Schwab, yeah.
It's just that in India, no one had tried it. So we were the first ones to do it. And that's how Zerodha started in 2010, right? So it was firstly about low cost and secondly about transparency, right? One of the things that I'd always hated being a trader of a lot of broking firms was that the broker was always very opaque in the way he worked.
Correct.
Right? I mean, your charges told to you would be very different to what you are actually charged. You would never be told about any tools. You had to go research it yourself. There wouldn't be a support portal. They wouldn't, brokers wouldn't write blogs. They wouldn't ever come out and put their head on the table, right? So we said, can we also be a very transparent kind of a business model where everything that we are as a business, we come talk about it and all our customers get to know about it types, right? And so those were the two, actually foundations on which the business started.
Yeah, I mean, I remember signing up for my second or third brokerage account right about the time you started, but I don't think I'd heard about Zerodha when you guys did. And I remember everything was 3 paisa, 30 paisa, and I thought 30 paisa is not much, but it actually was percentage. So I think things were designed to confuse traders like us and then I remember people talking about the brokerage calculator. It sounds like such a simple thing now, but back then it just was like, oh man, I actually know how much the broker is charging. So I think that was interesting too.
Yeah, no, I mean, in finance, everywhere in the world, the large companies make money by introducing this percentage word because no one understands percentages, right? A percentage always seems small, but then it has a very compounding effect. When it comes, it's good for you if you're making returns in a percentage.
Right.
But as soon as charges become percentage, you're actually losing money also very, like in a compounded way. So I mean, like I said, right, the first 1-2 years were probably the toughest for us as a business because when you start a business on a low cost model, people automatically assume the quality is going to be bad.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And then, then again, in this business of money, credibility is very important. So people don't trust you with money very easily, especially if the cost is low, right? As in, what's the catch? Will you run away with my money?
Yeah.
Right. So, and also because we came, we're like a small shop based out of Bangalore, and no one knew about it. So it took a while before people actually started trusting us. But yeah, I think, looking back, they're probably one of the best times I've had running this business. The first 2-3 years when it was the toughest to run the business.
I mean, Nithin, like when someone thinks of starting a startup, right? That to a tech startup, because you were thinking of online. No one thinks of disrupting or starting something in like 100, 200-year-old businesses. Like brokerage is like hundreds of years old now, and you thought of doing this in such a heavily regulated environment, right? So I think that's also, I don't know how that happened, but I guess things just unraveled. But what happened over the last 10 years? Like, did the regulation, did the landscape, like how did it change over the last 10 years?
I think SEBI has done a fantabulous job. Right? Even us coming into existence in 2010, the trigger was actually a SEBI regulation. A lot of people don't know about this. So until 2009, 2008, until the financial crisis, brokers in India could allow customers to buy derivatives with any type of margin. In the sense, a broker could allow you to buy Nifty future with 1,000 rupees. The other person could allow you to buy for 50,000 rupees, right? As in, there was no mandatory requirement saying you need to collect this much minimum.
Okay.
And it made no sense at all, because overnight you're taking such high risk. Allowing a customer to buy Nifty future at say 5,000 rupees, you're giving him like a 50x exposure overnight, where the risk can be completely off whack. So it didn't make sense to do broking business then, especially in a very low cost model. So after the financial crisis, when a lot of mid caps collapsed, there was a lot of money lost by brokers. SEBI came in and said, overnight you need to carry this much minimum margin, your span plus exposure margin.
Yeah.
And that was the trigger, because that's when I realized, when we are trading, saying that now it's almost like a level playing field. So if everyone has to collect the same equal amounts of margin, you can now potentially disrupt on the pricing, right? Otherwise, it's always about risk to rewards, right? As in how much brokerage you charge should kind of commensurate the risk you're taking, right? And a flat fee per trade wouldn't ever commensurate the kind of risk you would take for an overnight trade if you're not collecting the entire span plus exposure margin. So that was like one of the regulatory triggers. I think the biggest tipping point for us as a business was the this whole demonetization, Aadhaar, and all of that, right? Because opening a trading account was a 40-page document.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know how many proofs, a lot of courier to and fro. It used to take almost 10 days.
And something goes wrong, send it again.
Absolutely. As in, that was, like, imagine, I keep giving this example. Imagine you have to take an Ola, right? And then before you get into an Ola, you have to sign a 40-page document.
Oh, man.
Right?
Talk about frictionless onboarding.
Yeah. So I think that was the biggest tipping point, not just for us, for a lot of online digital financial services firms, which is demonetization suddenly enabled Aadhaar to be used as KYC and signature, which meant that we could now onboard a customer online, right? As in, you could do what was taking you 10, 15 days in like 30 minutes. Today, someone can open an account with us in like 15 minutes, which is like a dream. I mean, the first 6 years of our business, it was taking us 14 days to open an account, in a sense, on average, So I think that was the second big point. Then over the last 2-3 years, SEBI has kind of, because there were a bunch of these incidents with large brokers, right? As in Carvi, BMA, like all of these guys. So SEBI has come and again kind of made the ecosystem a lot more stricter, tighter. But while it is bad for the broking business, as in it's bad for us as a business because our opportunities to generate revenue is coming down, but it's very good for the customer because it kind of ring fences the customer almost from broker defaults and all of that. So regulatorily, there has been like, I think, when you start doing a business, especially as a startup, it's also very important that you get your regulatory direction right? So, your processes and your systems, you're building it saying, kind of building some kind of, you predict, like, the way you sit down and predict the future of your business. Same way, in a regulated business, you also have to kind of predict the regulatory
direction.
You need some kind of foresight, saying regulations in 5 years from now can be this, right? And then you build your business for those regulations. And then as soon as those regulations come through,
You're sort of ready.
You actually get a fill-up because your competition is not ready. For example, this year when this whole cash margin reporting requirement came in September 1st, the entire industry was caught off guard, right? But like a bunch of us digital first brokers, we were all ready for this because this is how we had done the business right from day one. So which meant that in this year, when this I think this year there have been 5 million accounts that are added from Feb, March till now. We've added 1 million, so we are 20%. Now, if you were to add, like say 3 or 4 online digital brokers, I think we would be 50% of that 5 million, and the rest would probably come from the remaining 400 odd brokers in the country, right? So I think that has also helped us. So we've always, I think the first priority for us as a business has always been make sure that we don't break any regulations or compliance. We are always ready for any future regulations that can come and affect you, right? So we're already wired like that as a business. Has helped us significantly as well.
Interesting. So also, since we're talking about the last 10 years, right? So what were the memorable moments and some milestones, but don't include only the good stuff, right? Tell us some bad stuff as well. So tell us something about that.
Yeah. No, I mean, see, the thing is, memorable ones, I think it is, every time I still remember the first few years, every 10,000 accounts we used to have this major celebration, right? And then we became the largest broker in the country. We had like a mega celebration. So we generally those have been very memorable. I think maybe the most memorable in terms of positively for me is this whole we gave out stock options and we gave liquidity to people who've been part of the business. That was extremely, I think for me, the most memorable in this journey. The not so good ones, the thing is between 2016, once this Aadhaar happened, until then we were opening. So just to give you an example, until Aadhaar we were at 1 lakh accounts, right?
Okay.
Until Aadhaar onboarding, which was sometime in 2016. Today we are at 35 lakh accounts, right? So that means we went from 1 lakh to 35 lakh accounts in the last 4 years, right? And it took us 6 years to get to 1 lakh, right? And unfortunately, in our industry, in our business, scaling is just us scaling is not enough, right? Because
the ecosystem has to.
Yeah, I mean the underlying infra has to scale, right? As in which is you have your lease lines that connect to the exchanges, right? So if I have to get bigger lease lines or more lease lines, I have to go to the exchanges, request them for lease lines. So which means it takes time to scale up, right? So we have, we have to rely on exchanges' own capabilities, right? As in terms of how much they can handle. So which meant that, especially in 2017 and 18, when we had this sudden rush of new customers, there were a few incidents. I think there were at least 4 or 5 incidents where we had downtimes, right? Yeah. And those were. It was almost like, I don't know how many times I've thought of jumping off a building in those times, because in our business, unfortunately, I think we are the only business in this country, especially in this startup ecosystem, where we can't afford a downtime.
Yeah.
Right. And in a tech business, there is no concept of no downtime, right? As in everyone from Google to Apple to WhatsApp, everyone's going to have downtime. I mean, it's not, I mean, if someone out there claims that he doesn't have downtime, he's lying, because there is nothing called as downtime. Today, every business is run using tech, and every tech will have its downtime. And but unfortunately, in our business, if you have a downtime, it's a notional profit and loss for a customer. Now, if the customer makes a profit, he never comes back to you, right? I mean, he's happy with the profit because of a downtime. But if there's a loss,
I mean, and Twitter and everything did blow up, right? Like people just went nuts when this happens, and it just becomes one more thing for traders to talk about, I guess.
So I think 2018, 17, 18 was a little more frequent, but that's reduced significantly. But the problem today is that we are so big, right? Is that even a 1 minute some chart not opening, incident, and we are trending on Twitter. So which is kind of quite scary. While it's exciting that we are large enough that we trend on Twitter for small incidents, but it's just usually there's a lot of profanity. There is a lot of What
do you do? Do you not read this, or how do you deal with this? Like, what do you do when something like this happens?
No, I mean, I just tweeted about this same thing recently. I said, I mean, I think the way to look at this is what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that's the only way to survive through this. Because otherwise, you start taking into your head, I would probably sell this business and do something else, and that would not be good for our customers, and not for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, we keep talking about how big Zerodha is. So, I mean, just give us some numbers, Nithin. And also, I know that for investing, you guys don't charge. So, and I know there are a lot of investors, and it's actually zero. So, I mean, how are you actually making the money, and how does this work?
Right. Yeah. We don't typically like to talk about how big we are because, I mean, if there was an option, while we have gotten a lot of press, ideally, all of us who are part of the core team, we are all, ideally we would want to have built this in stealth. But like I said earlier, right, in this business of finance and money, credibility is important, and talking in press kind of, or talking numbers, gives it credibility. So just to some ballpark numbers. So we do 15 to 20% of exchange volumes today. We are probably doing 5 to 7 million trades. At 5 to 7 million trades a day, we are probably the largest retail broker in the world, not just in India. But in India, your per trade size is much lesser, so you can't really do an apples to apples comparison to someone in the US. Like I said, this year we opened 20-25% of all the new accounts that have been opened in the country. We run Coin, which is our direct mutual fund platform, which has close to, I think, 8,000 crores of AUM today, 7,500-8,000 crores, which again makes it one of the largest.
And that is only 2 years old, is it? Like it's about 2 years.
Yeah,
old.
that's 2007. Yeah, it's almost 3 years old.
Almost 3 years old, right?
Yeah. So in terms of revenue and profitability, we are we do 400 to 500 crores of PAT now. Last year was in that range. This year has been spectacular, so it'll be much larger than that. So we are probably also the most profitable retail brokerage firm in the country. Now, the question that you asked is something that I get asked quite often, which is, if you don't charge for equity delivery trades, how do you make a profit? As in, where does the money come from? What most people don't understand is that in the stock exchanges today, just 1 to 1.5% of the exchange trading volumes come from equity delivery trades. Right? That whole buy a stock, wait for it to go up after a few days and sell it. Right? That's just 1.5% of the turnover. So we don't only charge brokerage for that. Right? we charge a brokerage for everything that's speculated. So everything that is people doing intraday trades or people doing futures and options trades, for which we charge 20 rupees. That's what we've been charging from day one. So in this 5 to 6 million trades that we do a day, like 30 to 40% of these trades generate at least $20 a trade. Right, so which if you do the math, you'll know how we are more than 1,000 crores.
Kind of like a broker freemium model, right? Some of it's free, some of it's not, I guess.
No, but the thing is, like including my dad. My dad has been investing in the markets for a long time. He never knew what is futures and options, right? As in, it is. It's a very. The thing is, I think what makes this whole thing tricky is 90% of people around you are contributing into that 1% of the turnover. That means 90% of the people around you who participate in the market are doing only equity delivery trades, right? So when you start talking to people around you and everyone's saying, I just buy stock, wait for it to go up and I sell, everyone assumes that this is what stock market is.
Yeah.
Right? That's not what stock market is. Stock market is also a lot of futures and options and intraday trades. But that turnover comes from just 5 to 10% of the participants. So it's a very concentrated kind of a business. So while we don't make money from majority of our customers, I think the good thing that we have been able to achieve over the last 10 years is that we also cater to the largest trading community in the country, which is very active day traders, very active futures and options traders. Right. Essentially people like me or like Nikhil from 2010, right? That's a business we were trying to build for. Right. So we also cater to that audience. So that audience generates revenue and they subsidize the investor audience.
That's perfect. So, I mean, let's ask this question, right? So it seems like a lot of people are using Zerodha, like what you just told us. So why should someone trade or invest with Zerodha instead of, say, one of the larger banks, which have been around for longer also?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's this is like a proper sales pitch.
Yeah. Go ahead, shoot.
Yeah, so I think today, right, over the journey of Zerodha, there were different reasons. The priorities in terms of what we had to offer was at different places. As in, if you were to ask me today, it isn't pricing. When we started the business, like I said, right, we were a low-cost broker, but today there are dime a dozen brokers who are offering at the same cost as we do. Right? Today, I think if you are trading at Zerodha, I mean, if someone is thinking of trading or investing in the markets, I think you have to come to us firstly for the platforms, right? Because of the product. We started building our in-house product in 2015. The Kite, we started building in 2014. We launched it in 2015. So it has seen all kind of cycles, all kind of volatilities. It is done really well. As in, like I said, at 6-7 million trades, we are the fastest platform in the country, right? As in, the time taken to execute an order, etc. So it's performance and just the user experience and user interface. So the reason it's so much more better is because it's a more evolved product, right? And the good thing about Kailash, who heads our tech, and the tech team at Zerodha, is that they're almost fanatical about every small thing. Right? If there is one tiny thing that can be improved, they will spend like a month on improving it. Right? And so this product has been built by essentially fanatics, right? Which is our tech team. Right? And you will see that love and effort in every single button. You will see it in every feature. Every new thing that we offer is meant to help our customer get better at trading or at investing.
It's not a very large tech team, right? I think some of them employ hundreds. Like, how many do we have at Zerodha?
No, we are 30-member X-Men tech team. So I keep telling them that they're just superhuman.
I think you told me this, right? That one tech guy can be equal to like 15 or 20 or 100. Like if you just get a really good developer, it can be like.
This is again like one of those business philosophies. When I started the business, I had this whole idea that throwing people at problems helps you solve it.
Yeah.
But I think it solves only small problems, right? As in, so throwing people at so the idea to go small was actually the influence of having K around me, K Kailash. Right. So we realized that small teams work much better. Right. There's a lot more bonding. There's a lot more responsibility. Right. You have a 50-member team working on one
Blame
product.
Game.
Just it's a ping pong ball, right? People keep and then there is politics. There is who gets credit for what and all of that. Right. So it's so much more easier to run a business with a small tech team. But yeah, so like I said, I think like if you were to ask me, Nithin, what are you most proud about? I think we are proud about our products, right? So if you're coming today, you have to come for products. While you come for products, we are also one of the lowest costing brokers in the country. So you still get to, you're not paying a premium for it.
Yeah.
We're absolutely transparent. There is nothing that we charge that a customer doesn't know about. We hide nothing, right? The third thing is not a single person in our team has a revenue target. Right, which means because I've always known that if you put a revenue target to someone, he's gonna go sell, and when he sells something, he's gonna most likely miss-sell, right?
Which is the plague of financial markets.
Absolutely, as in one of the reasons I think Indian stock market has such shallow participation is because of this.
Trust.
I think that's a very India problem because in India, the person selling makes money from the manufacturer. Right, versus like someone in the US. Someone in the US, when he sells a financial product, he charges you an advisory fees.
Correct.
He gets nothing from the manufacturer, right? So the interests are aligned. Here, because you're making from the manufacturer, the customer never gets to know what is that he's actually being sold, right? And so we don't have any of that. Not a single person at Zerodha will ever call a customer and say buy this or sell this because we don't believe in such a business model. Which also means that there is no one in our offices who can, do portfolio management and all of those things, which can potentially lose a customer money.
Yeah.
Right. So, right, that is one thing. And the third thing is we are extremely conservative in terms of risk, right? Through these last 10 years, we've never compromised on risk for anything, right? And the big problem in brokerage businesses is that you could essentially end up taking more risk and then be in a spot when there's a lot of volatility in the markets, right?
And by risk, you mean that you're not giving too much leverage to your traders, right? Like,
so as in, say, assuming you come, and say, Nithin, I will give you 1 lakh rupees brokerage, but allow me to buy Nifty future with only 1,000 rupees.
Yeah, correct.
Right? As in, I'll tell you, 99 of the 100 brokers will take it, right? But we are one of those who would not take the deal.
You probably raise margin. Do you ever do that? Like, do you raise margin more than everyone else, or does that happen?
No. I mean, I think in terms of one of those things that yesterday there was a CII meet where this discussion about capital adequacy ratio came in, saying maybe you should have a capital adequacy ratio types for brokers as well, based on what is their own capital versus customers' capital, right? As in,
like banks.
You would be by far the largest. I have no doubts about it. That I don't think there'll be any close comparison at all.
Is this one of your regulatory foresight coming in over here, that if this happens, we are ready?
No, not even that. I think this is more a learning from my trading days, which is to sleep in peace, right? And because you don't want to be in a situation where you get up tomorrow morning and suddenly say, dude, we've been so aggressive that we have to somehow find all these monies. You hear all of these deals, right? Suddenly someone sells a stake in a business to raise a lot of capital, and stuff. I don't want to be in a situation like that. So I'd rather say no to business than do that kind of a business. So, that's been the philosophy in which the business has been built, right? So these are some of the reasons, I think, finally, we haven't, I don't know if it's good, bad, but then I think every single product that we've built at Zerodha, it's always built with an idea saying, does it help the customer? It's never built with revenue in mind, right? Revenue or growth and stuff like that, right? It's always been, what I'm doing today, is it going to help the customer or not help the customer? If it helps the customer, we are like, it doesn't matter if you make money off it or not. Let's go ahead and do it, right? And I think one of the reasons we get that freedom to be able to do all of this is because we have no external capital in the business, right? We haven't raised any debt. We don't have any, professional money, right? Because both of these things, when you have obligations, you end up trying to do stuff to get
please
revenues
them.
faster.
Okay, yeah. Please them versus actually build for the customer. Is that the difference?
No, like, for example, it's just not about equity capital, right? Assuming you have debt, right? Assuming I've taken a 100 crore loan at, say, 15%.
Right.
I have to service this loan, right? Which means
cash flow.
I have to go make this 15 crores right now, right? Which means I, as a business, have to go find maybe straight ways, maybe twisted ways to get to that 15 crores, right? So we have none of those issues. When it comes to equity capital, the person who invests in the business, I think one of the challenges there for a founding team is now you have to grow fast enough to please that guy. Correct. Because otherwise his money wouldn't grow, right? Yes. So we don't have any such obligations here, and which means that we continue to build our business, just keeping that most important thing in our mind always, which is it good for the customer or not good for the customer? If it is good, it's eventually good for the business as well. And I think, if nothing else, that's probably one of the reasons why you should open an account with us.
Nice, Nithin. Okay.
Like, that's a mega sales pitch.
It's interesting. Since we're talking about the customer, we talk to a lot of traders, obviously, because they're all learning trading and stuff, and it's just all these beginner traders talk about this, right? And mostly, and even fueled by the web series that just released right now, right? On the scam. So now a lot of traders say that operators, and I don't know who these operators are, special people in smoky rooms smoking cigars, can move stock, right? Yeah. And then also say there are other kinds of people who will stop loss hunt and then reverse the market. So, what's the lowdown on these conspiracy theories?
Yeah. So this is something I've been hearing forever, right? As in, there is this, my dad keeps talking about it. These guys push the market down
Yeah,
today.
I mean, who are these guys?
I'm like, who are they? And where are they? And I think what triggers, like you said, right? These movies, etc. They just end up triggering these kind of thoughts, right? Saying that there's somehow someone there is moving. See, the thing is, one thing is for sure, right? As in small stocks, right? Penny stocks, etc. There are operators. In the sense, these are folks who hold majority of the stock, so they can potentially move it up and down. And that, I doubt if there's any penny stock which doesn't have an operator, right? So the best thing to do is to stay away from such stock, right? As in, if you're trading, investing, I think personally, if you're a very active futures and options trader, I don't think you should look at anything outside Nifty and Bank Nifty, right? Because that's
liquidity.
See, the thing is, even if there's no operator in every stock, there's an insider who knows a little more than you know.
Yeah.
Right. So, in the business of derivatives trading, it's a zero-sum game. It's not like equity investing where all of us can make money together.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
In derivatives trading, it's like almost like being in a sport. If I have to win, you have to lose.
Correct.
Essentially, right? And in a sport, the person who has a better edge has a higher chance of making money, right? So if you're someone, if you're trading a random stock, I don't, you can invest in it if you think it's a good idea, but I don't think it's a really good idea to be trading derivatives on random stocks, which are, not very liquid, etc. So there are operators in penny stocks, but I don't think there are any operators in, operators of Nifty. How does someone operate Nifty, right? As in, I keep listening to the stop loss hunting story, which is somehow someone has figured that at this price, my one lot stop loss is placed.
And he'll spend $1 billion apparently to move Nifty and take his stop out.
Yeah, why would someone? Okay, now the thing is, you take the stop out and then you have to reverse the direction as well, right? As in, which is, no, I think that's too far fetched. I think one of the reasons why it seems like it is all happening is because most retail traders move in herds. Right. And which is the problem, right? The problem for retail traders, why majority of the retail very active traders lose money, is because they all think alike. They all have the same kind of biases, which is, like disposition bias, loss aversion bias, right? All of these biases, and they affect equally for all the traders, right? The standout guys are the ones who can do stuff. For example, the biggest challenge I think in the market is if you're making a loss, cutting it fast. If you're making a profit, let it run, right? Which is,
people do the opposite, the exact opposite.
One, so how do you ever make money, right? As in, how do you ever make money if you're going to keep cutting your winners fast and keep on holding your losers? So I think this all seems like it is gamed because most retail play traders are actually moving very similarly, right? So it ends up feeling like there's someone actually sitting and gaming all of this. So I don't think there is anything called stop loss hunting. Like I said, especially if you're trading Nifty, Bank Nifty and all, it's almost impossible to be doing stuff like that. So,
I think the reason all this comes up is that he got stopped out, but needs to find a reason why, and he makes this up. But
I think that is, maybe we can take this up some other session. But while trading, I think I've known like a zillion traders. I've been very active interacting with traders from 2000 onwards, and I think the guys who stand out are people who own up to the losses, right? People who don't blame someone else for the losses. And that's been the biggest differentiator. If I have to compare a trader that I know who's made money versus who hasn't, a trader who's made money, I know that when he's losing, he will go back and say, let me figure out why I lost money. Versus someone else who's always constantly saying, it fell because this news anchor wore a red color sari. I mean,
correct.
Something like that. So it's it's one of those very important traits required to be a good trader.
So let's zoom out a little bit now, out from trading back to Zerodha. So what are the different platforms? So I know Kite isn't the only platform, right, Nithin? I think we have a bunch of other platforms. Also, I think all of them, I think you tweeted or someone tweeted about it, that there's like 35 lakh people in total actually using these platforms. So what are these platforms and how are they designed?
Yeah, so we'll talk about it in detail over the next few videos. But just to give an overview, Kite is the flagship product, which is where you trade, invest. So that's where you buy and sell stocks. While Kite has a lot of things, I think some of the very popular things on Kite is firstly, the order window, like I said, is extremely fast. It's probably the fastest trading platform in the country. So we have different types of orders. We're probably one of the only few guys who gives this thing called as a GTT order, which is a long-standing order. We can actually place an order and let it be for almost a year. We have great charting. So we give two types of charting, Chart IQ and TradingView, two most popular charting libraries in the world. On Kite, we have this thing called as 20 market depth. So most trading platforms, or all trading platforms in this country, come with a 5 depth. So you can see the best 5 bits and offers. So we have a feature where you can see 20 depth. Surprisingly, I'd never thought that this will happen, but almost 70 to 80% of all business today happens on Kite mobile. Right?
Oh,
so
man.
we are, we are one of the lightest mobile apps out there. Extremely powerful again. So whatever you can do on the web, you can also do on the mobile. And within the Kite trading app, we have integrations to all these startups who build these nice little trading apps on top of us.
Yeah.
So think of Kite as almost like an Android, and then these apps as Play Store apps, which you can use once you open an account with us. So that's Kite. Then there is Coin, which is the mutual fund app, a direct mutual fund app. So you buy direct mutual funds without paying any commissions or any charges. So we make no money by selling any mutual fund on Coin. Then there is Console, which is our reporting platform. So we probably have the best reporting. So the thing is, in trading, I think it's very important to also sit down and look at your trading past to figure what you've done right or wrong, right? As in, that's one of the most important things, to look back, and then learn from your mistakes. So Console has great reporting, great tax P&L, holding visualization. So we even have today, on Console, we give a holding. So if you're holding stocks and mutual funds, you can actually see your holding contribution from stocks, which are also part of the mutual fund. So we combine the mutual fund's underlying holdings with your other stocks, and we give you a visualization for that as well. So, extremely good tool. So yeah, in terms of trading, products and platforms, these are the three. But then we also have a very popular blog called Z Connect, where we keep sharing everything.
Yes.
The entire, I think today, if anyone has any questions on anything related to support, we have this portal called support.zerodha.com, which has explanation on all queries. So if someone is thinking of, if there's any query in mind, you can just go to support.zerodha.com and search for it. And then we also have Varsity, which is our educational initiative, which is today the largest, maybe the second or third largest behind Investopedia in terms of capital market education, in terms of activity, in terms of participants and content and all of that. So these are essentially all the in-house tools and products. And I keep getting asked this question on why have Console, Coin, and Kite as 3 different products and not as one.
Yeah.
And this is the same reason why Gmail, Google Calendar, Hangouts, and Chats are separate apps, right? Because we are in a mobile-first world, right? Today, 70 to 80% of everyone's business comes from mobile. And on a mobile, integrating all the experiences into one mobile app makes it clunky.
Yeah.
Right. And if you pick up any banking app in India, you will know why, right? As in, it's very clunky. It's a very clunky app because they're just trying to do too many things on that one app, right? So we took that Google-like approach to say that we have to create standalone apps, and that's one of the reasons why each of these apps on its own is very, very fast and very nimble editing. So.
Awesome. So Nithin, one thing now we'll focus towards another aspect, right? I think you said Varsity. Varsity is one of the most popular free to use learning platforms, not only in India, but actually probably one of the best in the world, right? So we have another K there, that's the Karthik, who's running that. So tell us about all the education initiatives. And I think the first time we also spoke, like I don't know how long ago, like 6 years ago, was based on education only, I guess. But so tell us, what is Zerodha's focus on education and why?
Well, this whole Kida of sharing knowledge has been there for a long time. I think even before Zerodha, I used to run the largest Yahoo Messenger group in India on stock market trading.
Really?
Yeah, and I used to run really large Orkut communities on stock markets,
Orkut.
and Facebook, or I mean, so I've done. There's I don't know if it is vanity or what, but I used to like this whole acknowledgement. When people say, "Oh, thanks for telling me this,"
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed the fact that I can share something and someone benefits out of this, right? So even when we started Zero, the first thing we did after putting our website was actually to put up a blog and start blogging about everything that we knew about, and started sharing not just on Zerodha, but on forums like Tradergy and all of that. I used to spend hours and hours together on that forum answering people's queries. So the idea here was that generally that while I also believe in the whole good karma concept, which is you do good and good comes back to you.
Yeah.
Which is if I help you in some way without any expectation in mind, you will probably think of me in some other form, right? And which has been the core to our growth as a business. We have spent 0 rupees on advertisement till date, right? We have done no marketing, no advertisement. So all the hours and hours of effort that has gone into sharing knowledge, helping customers out, is coming back to us in terms of customers referring more people to us.
I think
right?
that compounded, right? This is the compounding that you were talking about.
Absolutely, as in it's very exciting as well. So one aspect was firstly financial literacy in this country is really really bad.
Yeah.
People are never taught finance. People get the jobs and they end up doing what their parents were doing or what their friends are doing, and which typically is a wrong thing to do. Like for example, we were just discussing within Zerodha yesterday about how this buying physical gold has become very popular right now.
Yeah.
But then people pay 3% GST on it, right? And I'm like, dude, you pay 3% GST, you pay 1-2% commission. There is a 1-2% spread. You're losing 6-7%
Just
buying
buying
this
it.
form of gold, right? And everyone's thinking suddenly that this is the best way to buy gold, right? And a lot of online platforms are selling this gold, which is like a digital gold. So now someone has to educate them saying this is not the best form of the gold. Best form of gold to buy today is probably sovereign gold bonds, where the government is giving you 2.5-3%, or maybe even gold ETFs where you're paying just 0.5 to 0.65% as an expense ratio, right? So this has always been there. Now, is this education expecting something in return? Not at all, right? It's always been about, can I help someone? Because I can, which is very exciting. I think this whole helping someone is very addictive. If you start doing it, you continue doing it more and more, right? And so while we were doing a lot of this blogging, sharing knowledge on social media, and all of that, Karthik was an old friend, so I met him in 2014. As in, we used to work together, and then he went to France to do his MBA and all of that, and then we had this whole idea. He also liked education, so he said, "Why not just sit down and build this platform where we share as much knowledge as possible, but don't make it salesy. Don't have advertisements. Don't spoil it. The essence of sharing by putting all these random things, or don't take leads and then suddenly keep sending them emails saying open an account as or open an account as don't do stuff like that. Just do for the fun sake. So let's just." And Varsity has turned out beautiful, as in terms of how popular it's become. We run another initiative called Trading Q&A, where it's more like a Stack Overflow for stock market.
And you're really active on it.
Yeah, where I'm very active now. So I think one of the other things I've realized that by having all these education initiatives and being very active, you also, as a founder of the business, you also gain a lot of market intelligence.
I was gonna ask you that. Yeah.
I mean, you get to know what your customer is thinking, what he wants to say. You're not relying on someone who's working with you, so you're actually getting first-hand information, and that kind of intelligence, there is no other way to gain that kind of an intelligence other than actually talking to the customer.
I mean, a lot of large companies hire research people to research the customer. But over here, it's just direct to consumer, talk to them, understand the problem. I guess, is that where you get all your insights about what to build next? Is that where it comes from?
Absolutely. As in, most of what we've built at Zerodha, the ones that have worked the most have been the ones that are built on instinct. the ones, where I sat down, made one document and got like, sold it to like 10 guys saying, what, we need to go do this because it can do this, blah, blah. That hasn't worked. What has worked has actually been like, what has done really well has been those that have been very instinctive, right? So, this education helps. But the thing is, what we also realize is that the world is going video, right? People like to, I think people are slowly and steadily stopping reading stuff and they're liking watching stuff. So that's when we found you.
Absolutely. And we're taking full advantage of this.
But I think what you're doing is great because I think the future of, the thing is, I think we all have the onus of making this country financially literate.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't want products to be missold. And then, this missold product, get those people to be inactive, right? As in, this country needs financialization. You want, all this money sitting in FDs and savings bank and current accounts and gold and real estate come to the markets. Because it comes to markets, it'll find entrepreneurs. If it goes to entrepreneurs, they will build great businesses. They build great businesses, the country will do well, right? As in, you want that to happen, and that can happen only through financial literacy. And hopefully we are all just getting started, and
correct.
We will do a lot
and I realize this, right? Like being in the education, this thing, people want to learn it, but they can't because they don't trust people.
Right.
Like you just don't. So I think the biggest edge is just be honest. Like we've told so many people about technical analysis, for example, and we say certain things just don't work. But I mean, if you want to learn it, here it is. Try to go the quant way, and it really works out, right? I think honesty really works. But talking about instinct, Nithin, you said a lot of things you built on Zerodha were based on instinct. Did there anything that you just built on instinct, wasn't planned, and then suddenly just did really well? Like any overnight decisions, or did that ever happen?
I mean, I think the biggest one, which is probably after Radha, the second biggest tipping point for the business was me, Kay, and person was heading a PR. We were going to Cochin.
Yeah.
The flight got delayed. We were sitting at the airport hotel having a beer, and then I just, what was happening for our business was everyone was looking at Zerodha as a place to go trade for speculative activities, right? If you want to invest, go use a bank broker. If you want to trade, if you want to do futures and options, use Zerodha. And by then we had realized that number of people who trade futures and options in this country is just maybe 5 lakhs.
Yeah.
Right. And we are like, if you have to grow this business, we have to kind of build this for the larger audience. And this was 2015 end. And so what we did over the beer was, I said, why don't we just go zero brokerage on equity investing? Right? Because we were anyways not making too much money. And that was a Friday evening. And Saturday morning, we announced, right? We put a blog post out. Right? There was no board to go get approval.
Was it really that quick? I mean, what about the tech behind? And I mean, how did you do it so quick?
Nothing. I mean, going zero is the easiest thing to do. Your brokerage charge is now not 20 rupees. It's just zero. I mean, it's actually one of the easiest things to do. I mean, the only tech was, our designer had to design a blog post landing page.
Is that rocket ship, right? I remember it was this guy at a rocket ship. I remember seeing that.
Yeah. So, and that's probably the biggest tipping point for us as a business, because until then we were growing very slow, and then for the first time we got this virality after that.
Yeah.
A lot of people like, who's this broker who's doing a zero? There's not a lot of distance between 20 rupees and zero. We were charging 20 rupees a trade.
Yeah.
But I think zero got, as eye candy, right? As in people suddenly like, this is great. And then we got a lot of press coverage. I think in 2016, for doing that thing, Economic Times put me in the top 10 businessmen to watch out for in 2016. And the craziest thing was, number one in that list was Mukesh Ambani for Jio.
Oh, man.
Number two was Nithin Kamath for Zerodha, because we're going zero. And I was like, damn, what the hell is that? So that was, like I said, that was probably the most positive, impacting, instinct-based decision that we had taken that worked really well.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that you guys talk a lot, you actually tweet about also is Rainmatter. So I obviously know what Rainmatter is, but why didn't you tell everyone what Rainmatter is, and why did you build it? Was this one of the instinct things you came up suddenly, or was it like very planned?
Well, see, as a business, we were trying to solve for that one problem, which is build a great execution platform. Right? As in, if someone has an idea to buy or sell a stock, we wanted to be the best place in the country. Right? That was what we was building. But then we realized that that audience for that product is very small. Right? There are only like maybe today there are probably 70, 80 lakh Indians who invest in the market once a year.
Yeah.
So we knew that we had to kind of build one of these, like, either we had to build it ourselves or we had to do something where, we had to grow the market audience. We had to build a product which can cater to people who don't have an intent to buy or sell.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's when this, we were also building Kite, which is our web app. The great thing that our tech team did while building Kite was that they also first built what is called as Kite Connect. Right? So these are a bunch of APIs using which startups can come and build trading apps on top of us. Right?
Google
so
Play
Kite was
example.
one such app. Right?
Yeah.
So Kite Connect was what was built as a core product. And then on that, Kite Web and Kite Mobile was built. And then what we did in 2016 was we went and we said, you know what, startups, we have built this brokerage firm where we work at zero brokerage. We have built a great execution app. There is no point coming and building another buy and sell window, right? So we said, are you a startup who can build a niche experience which can kind of grow the capital market ecosystem in this country, right? And that's when we met the first, I think, the best startup out of the lot who was done really well, Small Case.
Yeah.
So Small Case was trying to build this whole idea of investing in a basket of stocks versus buying individual stocks, and it was a great way to introduce first-time investors to the market, because the biggest mistake first-time investors do is
buying
take concentrated bets.
Yeah.
Right? They put a lot of money into one stock, and Small Case, by a product itself, was diversifying risk for the customer. Right? So what they did, we opened up the APIs. We said, why don't you build on top of this? Now, the other problem for a lot of startups or anyone building a financial product is people don't trust it very easily.
Yeah.
Right? So what we did as a business was we went to our customers and said, you know what, this is our product. We trust this. Why don't you use it and tell us what you think about it? So all of these startups, so Small Case was able to very quickly get to their first 10,000 customers. It took us 3 years to get to the first 10,000. 2 years to get to first 10,000 customers. These guys got it in like 2-3 months. They had like 10,000 customers, right? So once that happened, more startups started coming in. So then, there's this funny incident. So me and Kailash, we had gone to Cisco Cloud conference.
Okay.
And there was this person who was talking who was the cloud chief, right? And I said, I was just joking, and I said, you know what, if he's cloud chief, I want to be a rainmaker, right? And he said, if you want to be a rainmaker and we're doing startups, probably you should call the company as Rainmatter. So that's how that whole Rainmatter as a name came about. But we also realized when we opened up these APIs that a lot of these startups today, 2020, broking is hot. You say fintech and saving investment, people want to put money in it. And back in 2016, it wasn't, right? People weren't looking at this as one of those sunrise kind of industries, right? So we realized that these startups also needed some capital. So we took some of the money we made from the business and we started investing into these startups to help them get the product from the idea to actually a live product.
Yeah.
Right. So I think one of the most exciting things about this business, this whole journey of Zerodha for me has been Rainmatter, and how I've been somehow in some small part been instrumental in building these standalone businesses, right? So just to give you a few names, Small Case was built a great thematic investing platform, and today they're doing like a hell lot of things, So they've also built this platform called Ticker Tape, which is like a great stock discovery platform. Two, Sensible, which is built an options trading platform.
Right.
Three, Streak, who just have launched an amazing mobile app, and like a backtesting platform for non-programmers, like an algo trading platform where even a non-programmer can come and kind of programmatically create strategies, backtest, and all of that. Learnapp, right, as in like a great educational platform. You're using content in video form, making it a lot more engaging, getting in experts, and kind of growing the capital market ecosystem. So for me personally, Rainmatter is almost, I look at it as a CSR initiative.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you'll also agree to it that it's never been about ROI. It's never been about.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, in our experience, like we we've only got support and love from like Rainmatter, and I think the first time we met also, the question was never how much you're gonna make, what are you gonna do, what's the equity. Like it was always how are you gonna help 100,000 people, how are you gonna help 10,000 people, how are you adding more value to them. So I think that's really clear. One last thing about going back to Zerodha as a brokerage business, right? You're like you are the largest brokerage right now in the country. So what's next? I mean, you've built it, Kite's doing well, you have these other apps plugging into Kite, all these things are happening. Like, what's the next big thing that you really want to address?
Yeah. No, see, the thing is, I think one of those things which is a sore point in this journey of our business has been, for me personally, is to see our customers lose money when they're trading. I mean, and the fact that you can't really do anything about it, right? As in, we have realized as a business that advisory is not the right way to do it.
Okay.
Because, giving the stock tips, etc. Because it just, firstly, giving stock tips to a customer almost makes him, like, you need to teach people how to fish and not give that person fish, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the way the person can survive, right? As in, you can't, and there is no stock tips that work. Yes, and if I knew a stock tip that worked, I would probably go buy that stock, right? I wouldn't be going and share. I mean, generally people wouldn't be sharing, right? So that thing has been bugging, just not just me, like a bunch of us in the business, saying we need to do more of this, which is just building a great execution platform or all these educational initiatives is not enough. Maybe we need to find ways to help a customer become a better trader, right? And we have realized that our strength is tech and product, right? Maybe there's a way to do it using the product itself, right? So the next big thing for the business is actually this platform called Nudge that we're working on, right? Which is inspired by Mr. Taylor's book Nudge, which is can you build all of these small little nudges in your platform that gets people to drift towards the good behavior, right? Kind of move people away from bad behavior,
Okay.
right? So let me give an example. So to trade in the markets and have a high chance of profiting, I think there are 5 or 6 very basic rules, right? Which is, one is don't go against the trend.
Okay.
Right? If a stock is going up, don't sell. If it's going down, don't buy. Right? Now, if you do go against the trend, bet size, which means if you're going against the trend, maybe buy half of what you would buy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, because bet sizing is a very important aspect. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, which is don't put all your money into one stock, right? Which is a very bad way of trading. Know that there is something called a disposition bias, which is this bias that gets you to sell your winners and buy more of your losers, right? Be aware of this.
Yeah.
Right? So stuff like this, right? I mean, these are some of the things that affect retail traders, and which is one of the reasons why most people lose money in the market. It's not really the actual trading decision. It's not really the strategy of buying a certain stock, right? You might have a great strategy and your odds might be 60 to 40 versus tossing a coin, which is 50 to 50.
Yeah.
Right. So you could toss a coin, make money if you followed basic fundamental rules of trading, right? And we said, can these rules be somehow incorporated within the platform, right?
So within Kite, you mean this is part of Kite?
Nudge is almost like a layer on top of Kite. Think of it as Siri of iPhone, right? Which is it's just a layer. So, for example, we introduced one nudge this year when there's a sudden rush of new account opening that happened in March, April, and we realized that a lot of penny stock transaction went up, and so we have been working on nudge as a product for a while, but we quickly brought this penny stock nudge into play. Right? So today on Zerodha, if you want to buy a penny stock, there's the order window says, boss, do you know this stock can lose all the money? Right? So we scare the shit out of the customer.
I don't think any broker would do that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So and then if he can always override it, but if he wants to override it and buy it, we ask him for a TOTP. That means he has to install a TOTP authenticator and actually put a TOTP. So we are slowing him down, right? And what we've realized is that our penny stock volumes as a percentage of overall volumes is down 60-70% after this, right? And so we have probably saved a lot of money to a lot of our customers by putting that nudge in place, right? So similarly, can you put these nudges around whatever rules are set, right? That's something that we're working right now. And I think of all the brokers in the world, we can do it because we don't have revenue targets, right? Because every nudge, what I've realized is a nudge that will reduce your trading size, right? It'll never increase the trading size. You're never going to nudge him to say buy more. You'll always nudge him to say don't do it or do less, which means it is revenue negative for the company.
This is
and
interesting.
A company that is chasing
this is not even
never be able.
This is not even education, right? I mean, this is like behavior change, right? And that's what the goal of education actually is, right? Is to actually change behavior. But if you can do it on the spot, I guess so that's a good name. It's nudging you to good habits, to good behavior. And like you said, like one trade you can be right 99 times out of 100, but one trade can blow your entire account. And this nudge will probably prevent you from doing stuff like that. Is that the idea behind this?
I mean, that's the ambition. I mean, let's see, how well that plays out, because we can't block out a customer, so there'll always be an option to override.
Yeah.
So we just have to find a way to nudge the customer into not overriding those basic rules that are required to trade and make money in the market. And to be very honest, if you look around, people who lose money don't lose money because of their trading strategy. It's not their, that buy and sell thing, that strategy. It's actually everything else. And a lot of these everything else can really be controlled using programmatically. So yeah, that's the next big thing for the business, and that's the most excited I am about now.
When do you think it's going to be out? Can you answer that question?
I mean, I've stopped giving timelines. No, but the penny stock thing is in play.
Yeah.
So there was just a really big architectural change that was required to put all the other nudges. So I'm hoping that over the next 2-3 months we should have majority of these nudges in place.
Interesting. Thanks so much, Nithin. I think I'm looking forward to the rest of the series and go deep into each product, etc. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Prateek.